Today on the Mom Talk, our hosts navigate a difficult subject. Let's tune in and see.
So it's like your husband's roles, your roles, Man, my Okie comes out in some of the things. Not dinner roll, but like dinner rolls. Okay.
Welcome back to the Mom Talk.
We're babies now.
And Moms Yap.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Maddie.
And I think today we're going to talk about biblical submission versus worldly submission.
Yes.
This one is a tough subject, I think. And we may not have it 100%, but we're just going to kind of talk about
like our experience in it.
Our experience, like what I'm not going to say feel because I don't think feel is right, but like our interpretation of kind of what that looks like for a woman. Yeah.
So my first right off the bat, we should look into what the Bible says regarding submission as wives. And so the verse obviously that came to mind, Ephesians 5:22. It's the most popular one that people pull out is wives submit to your own husbands as to the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, his body, and is himself its savior. Now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit in everything to their husbands. It's 22 through 24. So what were your initial thoughts when because I know you haven't been saved your whole life, right? And not even when you first got married.
No, I've only been a believer maybe. I think it's 11 years now. So I am still very headstrong. And I am I'm one of those people where I feel claustrophobic in somebody telling me what to do. And so I feel like a caged animal in a way. So it's very hard for me to even in a work environment to submit to a boss or even at church, submitting to the leaders. It's really hard for me because I don't want people controlling my life. And so it's a daily thing that I have to fight. But yeah, it was not easy. It actually made me angry that the Bible told us that I have to submit to my husband. And then in my brain, I was like, what does that even mean to submit? I'm like, does that mean that he just dictates everything that I do? What I wear, what I eat, can I go somewhere? What does that even look like? And as a new believer, it wasn't really ever explained. So for a long time, it was just kind of I was like, this is dumb. I don't want to submit.
It's hard too, and because a lot of people will kind of take that portion out of the context and look only at that, but then forget it follows with husbands love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her.
Right.
So in response, the husbands are doing the same for us in a way, they're serving us or loving us. And when you have the husband who is so willingly doing that, it's so much easier to submit. And it's hard, of course, if it was all control, no love. Yeah. Because then it's I don't want to follow what you're saying.
Right.
You're just being mean.
Yeah.
But when there's that mix of how it should be, where it's love and submission, then it's just it's so much easier than just the idea of just submitting to whatever they're saying. And so I think a lot of people who also aren't even in the church, the world likes to say, oh no, be your own boss. They don't realize it's not just us following everything they're saying blindly. Right. It's if they're saying stuff, it's because they love us and know what's best. But it's hard when you're not used to that either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were saying, you have the world telling you, especially women, we have women's rights. We now can vote. We should be making the same amount in the workplace. We should be doing all these things that men are doing and stuff like that. So then you have the world telling you that no, that is not, you should not be submitting. And then you have the submission, biblical submission. And then it's kind of well, when you're a new believer, you're just kind of like, where does that fall for me?
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know that you should be biblically submitting. But then at the same time, it's like, but the world is telling me, no, like I am strong and I should be independent, which I think is true. I think that's where we're going to kind of go with how does that look like to submit, but be
Your own.
independent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not healthy either to do like every single thing together where like your whole world is your husband. Like there needs to be some individuality.
Yeah.
But like big decisions like going on vacations and where you're going to live, like that's definitely like, it's not just your husband making that call. Like it's going to be a conversation together. But there's obviously going to be difference in opinions. And at the end of the day, like they're going to try to do what's best for the family unit as a whole. And you have to respect that as well and just trust like, okay, like you're the head of the marriage, you're the head of our family. And I have to trust you in that role. Because that's another thing. If we're constantly coming at them like, well, I don't want to do what you say, we're telling them what we don't trust them to like be our leader. And then when we got married, we told them, oh, I trust you.
Right.
But then all of our actions are saying otherwise. It's like, it's so hard to lead someone who doesn't want to be led. And so just like fully giving that over, it's like honestly kind of nice to not have to worry about those things.
It is. And I think for me, it was like, am I losing my identity? Am I losing who I am? Because I am just like, I didn't want to be a robot.
Yeah.
I didn't want to just be like everything that my husband said. I was like, okay, chop, chop, I'm going to go do it. Because I'm like, but God created me to have my own mind.
Yeah.
And my own thoughts and things like that. So it was kind of like, how does that work together? I think it took me a while to like realize like it's embracing like your roles. So it's like your husband's roles, your roles, man, my okie comes out in some of the things. Not dinner roll, but like even though that kind of sounds good, like Texas Roadhouse, like those butter rolls.
Those are good. I've made them from
butter.
scratch before.
I think you should. I think we should have a charcuterie board because sometimes we go off on rabbit trails and I get really hungry.
I know. I realize sometimes we don't eat. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
we should eat something. We'll have to do some cooking videos just so we get some food. Little grazing board for in between shoots.
Yeah, grazing. I like that.
I don't know why I don't
board.
think about that stuff, but you know.
But yeah, I think it's like working together in harmony because I mean, in Genesis, it doesn't say that like God created us for us to be a doormat.
Correct.
He created us to be a helper. And if you look at that, like helping isn't like you're not following behind. You're taking those steps together.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it gets
misconstrued.
That often women think it's like, oh, I have to be a robot and I just have to follow like which you do, but
yeah, it's just not to the degree where you have no say in it either. Like there's been moments where I'm like, I don't think this is best and this is why. And like, because like obviously they don't know everything. Like our husbands don't know everything. They're also learning. We're learning. Like no one's perfect. And there's going to be those times where it's like, oh, actually like, I don't know if this is the best idea. And you kind of talk through it and then explain like, you know, like don't just blindly do everything either where like that doesn't make sense. And obviously if it's not biblical or like right, like that's another thing. Like we're first supposed to follow the Lord and what has been laid before us. And so it's just like honoring your parents when you're kids. We're told to honor and obey our parents. Obviously, if they're telling us to do something that's outside of what the Bible tells us to do, we're not supposed to do that. But when it comes to like, if your parents say you can't go out with your friends, you just got to respect it and not go out with your friends.
yeah.
But if they're saying, hey, burn your Bible, don't talk to Jesus, that's obviously not something you should follow. So there is a line where it's like, okay, this isn't right. This isn't fruitful. But the beauty of like us being adults and it is where we both can say something about it. It's harder obviously as a kid with your parents to be able to like step outside what they're saying, depending on what it is. But yeah.
So what was really cool is like before we even were talking about like having this pod discussion, I think my husband sent me this thing and it was talking about the Hebrew term, I think for like helper, and I'm going to butcher this because I think it's like Ezer Kenegdo, Kenegdo, Ezer Kenegdo. So it's EzerKenegdo. And so it's found in the book of Genesis, and it's translated in English as a helper comparable to him or a suitable helper. So like I was saying earlier, like in Genesis, the actual address is 218. It's not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him. So it's saying like the word helper carries like a much like richer like connotation, I guess, in Hebrew versus like what English is.
Yeah. It's like we're not just the sidekick.
No.
We're much more like Mixley's always said, like it's like something as simple as this. Have you seen where I put this?
Yeah.
And I like know exactly where that is. Like, yes, that seems like such a small thing, but like he genuinely cannot keep track of stuff. And I just somehow just know all the things he puts in weird spots. And I'm like, that's weird. And then he asked me about it. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw it under that white shirt in the top pile of that, whatever. And he's like, how'd you know that? I'm like, I was just wondering why that was there. And I just left it. And so it seems so simple, but it's like those little things, like we make the day easier as well. Like whether or not like in your household, you're kind of expected to make the dinners. Like I make the dinner so it's ready by the time he gets home from work, and then he can just sit and eat. And then it's not that it's expected that I'm always cleaning after dinner. Like most of the time he actually cleans the dishes while I do the bath or something like that.
Yeah.
And so he's still helping me, but I'm here to help him as well. And it's not as just like I'm doing his laundry. It's like deeper than that.
Yeah. I put down right here, like it reflects a model of cooperation where each fulfills roles that suit their unique strengths, contributing to harmonious and effective union that reflects God's design for human relationship. So like when you're submitting, and I think what's really beautiful is like what took me a while to like get it, and then what actually made me like make it click into place is like I don't he is my husband, but I don't look at it as like I'm submitting to my husband. I'm submitting to Christ. And I'm not saying my husband is Christ, but I look at it as like when I'm submitting to my husband, I'm submitting to Christ.
Because he tells us to do it.
Yeah. So it's like that made it, I wouldn't say easier. I'm going to tell you, I fight it every day, and my husband knows that I fight it every day.
I'm still not perfect. There's times where I just kind of lose my marbles.
Oh yeah.
But we talk through it.
Yeah. My husband will say, oh, let's not be spicy today. I'm trying
but
really
even that's so
hard.
beautiful, because it's like, even though that's happening, like we said, like they're still here to serve us. Like he came to help set up everything today.
Yeah.
And he didn't need to.
No.
But he chose to, and he even told you to walk inside and he'd bring it all in for you.
Yeah.
And so it's like awesome, because that's when we get those bits of like help and serving and love and stuff. It's like, oh, it makes me want to, you know, serve you and help you and submit to you all the more, because I know you have my best interest in mind.
Yeah. Well, and then it's like you feel like you're not doing it alone. And sometimes like marriage, I definitely, for me, like when we first got married, like some of the things that we were like doing, like he worked and then he'd come home, and then I was taking care of the kids all day because he worked kind of like, I wouldn't say overnights, but he'd work really late at night. And then I felt alone, like I was doing it all by myself. But then I think as he matured in Christ and as I matured in Christ, and then he was like, oh, if I do these little things like coming and helping set up, or he'll be like, oh, I'm going to clean up the kitchen as, you know, like she's doing this, which I mostly bake, but it's mostly me cleaning up the kitchen after him, because I don't cook, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. And I think it's a different, man, my brain goes, chunk, 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 chunk.
Oh.
It's like, what's next? No.
Picks up like every little sound. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, sorry, go
I
on.
know when I slammed my phone down, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
but hey, it got my point across. No more of that POV. But anyway,
I wheezed. Did you hear that? Maybe when you listened back, it sounded like I wheezed. Maybe I'm just hearing things. But anyway, go on.
yeah, so I think another like thing that's probably really hard for people is like if you have a wife that's in the church and a husband that's not a believer.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? And I think exactly what you said earlier. If your husband is trying to get you to go against what scripture is saying, I mean, that's you can't do that.
Yeah.
And
that's where it's hard too, because the root of it, it's like we're also told biblically, like, don't be unequally yoked. And it's one thing if you get saved while you're married and like there's still can be fruit from that. There's still like if you're praying and contending for your husband, like the Lord will hear that prayer and he will bring him home. But it's hard, I'm sure, like if it's the initial, like you're married, you're already a believer and then he's not, like that prayer can still be answered, but it's still like, you know, best to try to like not be in that situation anyway. But like obviously it's hard when it's like you want what you want and we're not perfect.
Flesh.
Yeah, our flesh. Yeah, we're not perfect. And so there's still grace in that and the Lord's still going to honor those prayers that we like we cry out for.
Yeah.
And so if that is you, like where you're not equally yoked, there's still hope. Just keep praying and contending. Get people to pray for you. Just keep, you know, inviting him, trying to get him to come to services, whatever it looks like. Or be around other couples who are also Christian. Because like that plays a big influence as well. But it's important for sure.
I think, but I think definitely like your first place is on your knees. That's like your best weapon.
Yeah.
I think for that. But yeah, submitting to that, like, I don't know if I don't think I've ever been in that situation. So me and Nathan were unequally yoked.
Yeah.
He was a believer and I was not a believer. So it may have been reversed for him.
Yeah.
I do know, like, at one point I did try to leave him. And when we had come back together, he had told me that, like, at that point, that was when it broke. And then he was on his knees and praying and praying. So, like, it's just affirmation, like, the power of praying for your spouse.
Even if they're not, reciprocating, like, wanting to receive that prayer.
I didn't even know he was praying for
like,
that.
they might not know or even be in a mindset. If they knew, like, they'd be like, would you have said, like, why are you praying for me like that? Like,
probably.
Because you didn't know Jesus. So it's like, don't think that it's too small of a thing or too big of a thing. Like,
because I literally was staying at a friend's house. And it wasn't even the house. We were in the same apartment complex. And I moved in with her in, like, her extra room and everything. And then I just woke up one day and I was like, what the heck am I doing? And then I went to my husband and I was like, we got to get out of these apartments. And so I did all the steps of getting us out and then came to him and said, we got to get out of these apartments. And he was like, but we got to do it. And I was like, nope, I've already done this. I've already done this. I've already talked to your parents. They're coming down. They're moving us out. We're golden. So it was like, I mean, it was just and I didn't even know it at that time, kind of like what was going on in that realm. But yeah, definitely praying for your spouse is the biggest weapon.
Yeah.
And don't give up because it may take a hot minute.
Yeah. And someone told me there is a couple we go to kind of like informal marital counseling. And like I just ask questions and stuff, and like they also help us like as far as parenting goes and stuff. And I was kind of complaining just about where I was at or how I was feeling in our marriage as far as like, oh, like he leaves the shoes out or he doesn't clean up after himself. And it's like we can complain and nag all we want. And it's like hard because I still find myself doing this after I do it. I'm like, oh, I wish I could like say something that was more of a positive way or more encouraging, because the more you nag, the more it's like being a kid when your parents are like, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. And then you're like, now I don't want to do any of it.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm sure coming from your wife, it's like, wow, this is not encouraging at all. And so I'm trying to work on it. But that's also something like you can pray for is like, Lord, like change their mind behind this, or change their heart, give them the desire to be more thoughtful in cleaning up after themselves, or give them the reminder to put their shoes away when they come home and not just throw them on the floor. And that kind of opened my eyes a little bit of like, instead of just continuing to complain to him, it's like, that's also something we can bring to the Lord as like, not stupid, but like, it seems kind of like silly. Like, oh, why would I pray to the Lord to have him remind my husband to put his shoes away or hang up his jacket? But it's like, it's simple things like that.
Yeah.
It's like, he can make all things happen. So pray for those things to happen. If you want your husband to be more mindful in that you just deep clean the kitchen and he's coming and throwing things in the sink, like pray, Lord, may he recognize the cleanliness and actually put those dishes in the dishwasher rather than just throwing it, you know, and then instead of just like, oh, why do you always do this? And I know I'm still working. This is a work in progress for me because I just had these conversations today and yesterday. And after I reflected, I'm like, why do I keep coming at him like that? And it's all the root of like how much time I'm spending in the word on prayer. And so I need to get better at it. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, but having that kind of perspective of, let me just pray for it to happen rather than just like yelling at him to make it happen.
Yeah.
And then it makes it easier because then you're taking it off of you and you being responsible for your husband changing his ways. And it's like the Lord's going to intercede for you. And so, but yeah, anyway.
And I mean, that even goes for like your own submission to your husband. Like, just pray for a submissive heart and like your eyes to change and your heart to change. And
it happens.
It does.
Because before we got married, like my husband wanted to marry me like within a week of dating. And I was like,
rom-com.
It's like, no, I'm good. I'm not ready. And I was
It
like,
did happen. It was realistic. Okay. I don't know when these will post, but they're, we were just talking about unrealistic, realistic things happening in a book review.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I brought up as being unrealistic. It's like, oh, I see you, I love you, and next week you're getting married, and then it happened. Whoa. Well, I mean, you didn't get married, but
no, he did basically propose within a week. And I was like, I'm not ready. Maybe in a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
And then, but I knew like that was his desire. So like I prayed. I said, Lord, if this is something that you have planned for me, just change that desire in my heart so that I want to get married. Because I didn't want to go into it feeling like not, what's the word? Like I wanted peace in it. I didn't want to feel like we were rushing.
Yeah. And
then all of a sudden, like 5 months, I'm like, oh, wow, like I can see this now. And so we got married after like exactly a year later from dating. On our anniversary, we got married. And then same with having kids. Like it was kind of like, oh, like I don't know if I want to have a kid right away. And then that was like a change in heart, mind, and whatever our perspective of it. It was, Lord, if you want us to have children now, like change our hearts and let us be open for it. And then same with my job. My husband's like, you should quit your job. And I was like, no, that's my identity. That's who I am. I said, Lord, if this is what you want for our life, like change my mind. And then literally like 2 weeks later, I'm like, I don't want to work anymore. I'm quitting my job. And so it's just crazy because he really does listen. Yeah. Especially if it is part of the call and like part of what he has for you. He'll change that because it was nothing in me that was changing my mind. Yeah. Like I was pretty set on not ever quitting my job. I was like, I'm going to work for at least 10 years. And then maybe I'll talk about quitting then. Yeah. And so, but no, I worked maybe a year.
You're like, I'm going to retire here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's amazing how God does that. Especially, if you're staying under his will.
So yeah. So if you're struggling with that submission, like Ashley said, pray for that. Pray for those heart changes and for you to like fall into that. And like, it's still a prayer. I'm praying over myself every day. Lord, help me with my anger. Help me with my overreactions. Help me with not being so upset about things. Like give me peace, patience, loving kindness, everything, all the fruit of the Spirit to be pouring out instead of.
Yeah, it's real. It's a daily struggle for me too. Because there's like, I get very angry when I'm like wanting to do something that I want to do, and then somebody wants some of my time, and I'm like, but no, this is my time. So yeah, I have to I was just talking to Maddie about this. I was like, I'm done with everybody. She was like, oh no, what happened? I was like, I just want to do what I want to do.
I was laughing when you texted me that. It's like, that's real. And then the heat doesn't help. It was like
No,
92 degrees here. And that's really hot for Oregon. And it was too much. Like, it just the heat makes me angry. Like, I can't. I prefer.
You can't cool off.
No. Especially when the AC is like fighting it and like refusing to go.
And it's like, then your husband comes in, he's like, what's for dinner? I'm like, make yourself a dang sandwich.
I know, I'm like, you want me to turn the oven on in this heat?
Yeah. You're like laying in the floor on the like hard floor. Yeah.
That is actually the nice thing about, we had carpets before. So it's kind of nice, like when I put my feet down and it's cool. Oh,
like, where's Maddie? Oh, she's laying on the floor.
Cooling off.
Yeah. You add premenopausal to that, girl.
Or postpartum, freshly postpartum.
I had, I'm just going to be honest, I had froth butt yesterday. I was like, I did not know that it could lather that much.
I've never heard of this.
It's like where the sweat in your butt cheeks. I think my pants were too tight too. So they just kind of frictioned, made a nice little swamp.
And on that note.
Yeah, so on that note, it's mutual respect. No, but seriously, like mutual respect. Both partners need to support each other in their abilities and roles. There's no sense of inferiority or superiority, but a recognition that both are indispensable. So, like, and this is not a bash on a husband's thing or anything like that, but if you're a husband and you're watching and you're like, my wife just won't submit. My wife just won't submit. What does scripture say? Love your wife like Christ loves the church. Where in scripture does it say that Jesus walked all over the people? He didn't. The only time
he also
that
washed our feet.
He washed our feet, yeah. So I'm just like, maybe I'm not...
Just consider it. Maybe
I'm just going to say it. And this is probably going to make some people mad. But, like, consider your actions and what you're doing. If you're noticing that, like, you're more dictatorship than partnership, then if you change how you're doing things, that's going to greatly change, like, how your wife is doing. And that brings it back to, like, Nathan was on his knees and praying and like giving it up, and I came back. Yeah. Versus like if he probably would have continued down whatever road that we were going down, I probably would have never come back. And I'm not saying like you're getting a divorce, but I'm saying like if you want submissive wife, I think, and you're noticing like the things that you're not in that partnership, it's more the dictatorship like, than
be the one. You need to be who your wife would want to submit to. And then your wife needs to be also one that you should want to serve. Yeah. It's like goes both ways. It's not one over the other. Yeah. Like they need to work together to happen successfully. And if you're being one she wants to submit to, she'll submit. She'll want to submit. She'll want to do what you're saying. And then if she's being one that you want to serve, then you'll do those things as well. And so it's like both ways.
And I think a lot of the times, like, and it goes both ways in this too. Like a lot of the times, like men forget that, they go off and they have their job and it's hard. It is really hard being a man. And I would never, ever want to be the male in the relationship ever. They have a lot on their shoulders. Like everything falls on them.
It's all responsibility.
It's all
responsibility. Well, we see that with Adam. Even though Eve was the one who took a bite of the apple, the Lord went to Adam and said, you sinned against me. And so Adam was responsible for his wife's well-being, and he wasn't there to protect her. Yeah. And so, like, I totally forgot where I was going. This is what happens. I just go like, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm thinking about apples and Adam. Adam's apple.
Is that what that's from?
Some people say they think it's called an Adam's apple because the sin, it's still in his throat. Oh. I think that's an interesting thought. Like it was like a punishment for letting Eve. So now it's like a reminder of the first sin.
Those are easy to karate chop, though. So
I don't know if that's real, but some people have said, why would it be called Adam's apple? But I think it's also just like commonly known that Adam's the first man, and even like people who aren't believers, like people say Adam.
Yeah.
And it was just an easy like, oh man, because if you said man's apple, I don't know
That'd be
why
weird.
apple's even a thing.
I don't. Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, but anyway, all right. I remember what I was gonna say. So, like, you need to. Man, now I forgot it again. This is horrible. Oh,
We need cue cards.
I think so. I'm just gonna toss this out there. No, I'm not gonna toss this out there. I reeled that back in real quick. Ain't happening. Okay, no, I got it now. So, like, I think men often forget, like, they go to work and they have all of this, like, pressure on them and stuff. And I think they forget, like, women have it too. And so when they come home, they expect this servant, which I think a woman should serve her husband.
Yeah.
But I think they forget, like, they've been home all day or they've been at work as well.
Yeah.
Some women work outside the home and they've been like taking care of kids and they've been doing this. And it's like this mental exhaustion and the way that we're hardwired. Like for me, mom is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't stop. And like men, they can, I mean, my husband, he works at home, but he thinks about work quite a bit. But, I think they forget, and so they come home and it's like, I want this servant wife.
They're like, I
that
just
has,
need to unwind.
Yeah, dinner on the table, has all this stuff done, and then it's like, but hold on, like I've been at home all day, like I want to serve you dinner, but can we do this together?
Yeah, like if that's something you do, like we just eat at a certain time every day, and so sometimes he's home before I've made dinner, but he's always at least home by dinner time. But it's like, at least at the end of it, like, oh, how can I help you clean up dinner? Like, things like that. Not just expecting you just get to kick up your feet the rest of the day. Like, not be dad.
Yeah.
Like, you know, especially, too, because the kids, if there's kids involved, they, like, I haven't seen you all day. I want to hang out with you. And like, so even in that way, if you can just be there with the kids while mom's trying to maybe clean up, have a moment to herself. Because I actually sometimes, like, doing dishes can be therapeutic, you know, and just, like, as long as nobody's bothering me or talking to me, like I can like get in the zone. But it's hard when you're on top of that, like you said, you're a mom and you're trying to just do one simple task, but it's like takes triple the amount of time.
Yeah,
because the kid's at your feet. Literally, Phoebe today, I'm trying to cut a slice of bread, and she grabs me, and I have a knife, and I drop it, and I'm like, I almost just dropped this on your head.
Oh my gosh!
And so it's just like those little things. It's like it's very hard to get tasks done safely sometimes.
Yeah. It is. And I think men forget that.
Yeah.
But then also, women, I'm going to toss you under the bus. When your husband comes home, don't just start nagging him.
Yeah.
Don't be like, as soon as he walks in, don't be like, oh, the trash needs to be taken out. This needs to be done. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. No, like he's been working all day. And granted, you know, so have you, but give him time to come in. Give him a hug, give him a kiss, say you missed him. Yeah. And then, maybe even let him sit down for 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah. Just kind of
I've definitely
decompress.
I had to work on that myself.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, the first thing you said to me was not even like, how was your day? It was yada, yada, yada. I'm like, oh, sorry, I didn't. Yeah. I wasn't trying to like do that. It was just.
I mean, it's just like one of those things where it's
You're
like.
the first adult I could speak to today.
You're the first person over the age of 2 that I've talked to.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a work in progress and it's like something you're going to work through. But just like coming to that desire in your heart to do it. Yeah. Like I know it's hard, but like we've said multiple times, just praying on that. And like it's not a cop-out answer. Oh, just pray about it. It's like specifically contend for the desire in your heart to be submissive and serving. Yeah. And want to do all these things. Don't just say, Lord, make me a servant, make me submissive. It's like, Lord, give me the desire to do it. Because if you're praying for the specific things, just like you want to pray for your husband, Lord, give them the reminder to do these things. Let them be aware of the things. Like instead of just like, Lord, make them do their chores. Like, no, like change the heart. It's like a heart change, not just a action change. Because you want it to come from the heart, you know? And so be very specific in the prayer. Because that's where you're going to see the fruit.
Yep. Yeah. Submission's not easy for sure. Yeah. And it is totally a daily thing because, like, the enemy wants to come in and rip apart family.
Cause divide.
Yeah. And what better way to cause divide but than to have a wife that is just, like, angry and feels unheard and, like, walked all over and...
Or even around that is having a wife who's like, I don't want to do anything. I want to be my own person. I don't want control. It's like, it's still there too. Like,
you trying to bring up a text message? No, I'm just kidding.
But no, like, for real, it's like, it's both ways. Yeah.
Yeah. That was my, I had that mindset happened a lot. I was just like, you can't tell me what to do. And I think it stems from, like, when I was younger. Like, I moved out when I was, like, 16. I moved in with my aunt and uncle. And they were total opposite of my dad. My dad and my stepmom were like, you got to be home at this time. And my aunt and uncle, like, they didn't put that on me. So then Friday night, I'm sitting in the living room. They're just kind of looking at me like, are you gonna go out and do something? Do you need money? And I'm like, no, I'm just
hanging out,
chilling. Yeah. It's just the total different, like, they weren't, and I'm not saying as a parent don't do this, but they were not like, you can't do this, you have to be home and do da. They gave me the freedom versus, like, this dictatorship. So it was more of like a partnership, like, we live together versus a dictatorship. And so it made me want to stay home. It made me want to, like, spend time with them versus with my dad and my stepmom, I was, like, trying to leave all the time. And then pushing the boundary. If they told me to be home at, like, 11, I was rolling in the driveway at 10:59. And then they would be like, well, you need to be home 10 minutes before that. I'm like, then why give me...
why say 11?
Yeah, so it made me not want to...
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it's a mission.
I think it does, though, because it's a partnership. It's not just you following in line. Or falling in line like the military. It's like you're facing each other. You're on the same team.
Yeah.
And that's important to realize, too. We went to a marriage conference where they say, just remember, if you're in an argument, remind yourselves you're on the same team. You want the same result. And so constantly, like, yelling at each other, arguing about it isn't going to make it better. Just acknowledge, okay, we obviously both want a solution. We both want what's right.
Yeah.
And then if you go from that mindset of it's teamwork, it's just an obstacle that you're facing together, it's going to go much smoother.
Yeah. And sometimes I don't see it that. Even now, like, I'm like, oh, my brain will turn and it's like, oh, my husband's against me. I'm like, he's not against me.
It's so hard.
He is like the gentlest dude with me. I am difficult. I am a firecracker with a fuse the size of nothing. Like, and he is so kind and gentle with me in some things. I mean, I think I said in one episode he yells at me, but it wasn't like he yells at me to be mean. It's more of like
to get your attention.
Elevates his voice. Yeah. So, he can get my
I've had to do that, like,
attention.
with my sister. She used to be like, you need to imagine, if someone's being loud and obnoxious and they're not listening, you have to be loud and obnoxious to them to meet their level.
That's me.
And that was how it was my sister growing up. She just, like, would not listen to you unless you were, like, yelling. And it's sad, but sometimes, like, people, like, we can just be so, like, high-strung in our mind and just be like, this is how it should be. And, you know, it takes, like, a wake-up call or that, like, being shaken.
Well, and it's like your flesh just, like, takes over so much and you just start bubbling up and it gets so heated. And then after, like, you've had time to cool down, you're like, Satan.
You're like, what was
that?
The heck? Yeah. It's crazy.
How did you get in there and get so deep so quick? Yeah. So it definitely daily thing. I work on it constantly.
Yeah.
Submitting to my husband, I'm still working on that constantly. It's way better than what it was, but I'm sure he could say, like, I could work on it more. But.
But yeah. Well, I think that's kind of...
Yeah, just partnership. I think it's
just
the main...
prayer partnership, super important.
Yeah.
When it comes to this. Like, comment down below if there's things that you're still struggling with, or if you have any tips or specific prayer points that you've had, or you need prayer for something.
Yeah, or your testimony. I love hearing testimonies.
Yeah. So we'd love to hear from you, and just happy you joined us again. So like and subscribe and just wait for the next one.
Yeah. It'll be good.
Yeah. See you next time.
Bye.